Αγαπητοί φίλοι, κυρίες και κύριοι, καλώς ήρθατε στο Καναδικό Ινστιτούτο. Ονομάζομαι Jacques Perreault και είμαι ο διευθυντής του Ινστιτούτου. Είναι μεγάλη χαρά για μένα και βεβαίως για τους συναδελφούς μου, την ζωή Δελιμπάσης, η υπεύθυνη πολιτιστικού προγράμματος, και τον Jonathan Tomlinson, υποδιευθυντής, να σας καλωσορίζω στην φετινή ετήσια παρουσίαση του έργου μας. Θα ακολουθήσει μια διάλεξη του προσκεκλημένου ομιλητή μας, τον καθηγητή Patrick Baker, από το Πανεπιστήμιο Laval στο Québec. Chers amis, mesdames, messieurs, c'est un grand plaisir pour mes collègues ici à l'Institut et pour moi-même de vous accueillir ce soir pour la présentation annuelle de nos activités. Avant de débuter cette présentation, je tiens à remercier le ministère grec de la Culture, la Direction générale des Antiquités, le département des écoles étrangères, les effories d'antiquités préhistoriques et classiques avec lesquels nous avons collaboré, ainsi que nos nombreux collègues grecs pour le soutien qu'ils ont apporté à nos projets de recherche. Before presenting our activities during the last year, let me first sincerely thank the Hellenic Ministry of Culture, the General Directorate of Antiquities, the Foreign Schools Department, the various effories of prehistoric and classical antiquities with which we have collaborated, and our many Greek colleagues for their support of our research projects. Our thought this evening is devoted to the fieldwork which was conducted during the 2023 summer season. It is important to note that the Institute also presents a variety of other activities, promoting Canadian artists in various fields, highlighting contributions of Canada's great Greek communities, organizing academic lectures, and welcoming fellows, interns, and volunteers. Among the various lectures and cultural events held at the Institute, I would like to mention two that were a great success. From June 21 to July 12, 2023, the Institute presented the exhibition Paranges, Catastrophe and Creation, comprising an impressive collection of photos, watercolors, and architectural sketches by acclaimed architect Alexander Jonis, featuring the paranges, or shanties, constructed by Asia Minor refugees in Athens, following the Asia Minor catastrophe of 1922. The exhibition was timed to coincide with the 100th anniversary of the Asia Minor catastrophe and World Refugee Day, as an acknowledgement of the courage and resilience of refugees in the face of tragedy and destruction. As most of you know, the Canadian Institute is located in the neighborhood of Elysia, the area where the Ilissus River once flowed, on the banks of which the Paranges once stood. The second event was held on April 18, 2024, when the Institute hosted the first of our Paris Arnopoulos annual lecture series, which makes use of classical Greek studies in the analysis of contemporary social phenomena and problems. This year's event, entitled What the Ancient Greek World Can Tell Us About Geopolitical Crisis of Today, reflected on whether conflict resolution strategies practiced by ancient Greeks could serve as a reference in understanding contemporary global conflicts. The program included a keynote lecture by Matthew Sears, professor of classics and ancient history at the University of New Brunswick, followed by remarks from Maria Gavunelli and Thanos Veremis, respectively Director General and Vice President of Eliamep. The event, which received many excellent reviews in the Greek press, was moderated by ERT journalist and sociologist Polydefkis Papadopoulos. My thanks again to the personnel of the Institute for the organization of these events, and especially to Zoe Delibasis, who devoted so much time and energy. This year, The Institute also conducted its third summer school session. 155 Canadian students from universities across the country participated in this activity, discovering ancient and modern Greece during a 3-week period. This year, 2 itineraries were offered, the Attica Peloponnese tour and the Cycladic Islands and Crete tour. I would like to thank the Canadian Embassy for their support with our summer school program. During its first 2 seasons, the Embassy kindly financed 2 fellowships for Indigenous students to participate in the summer school. This is an element of the Canadian government's reconciliation initiative, helping young people find ways to use what they learned from the Canadian Institute in Greece towards strengthening their Indigenous identity. 3 Greek-Canadian archaeological excavations or surveys were carried out in the summer of 2023. The Greek-Canadian archaeological excavations at Argylos is a collaboration between the Université de Montréal and the Effort of Antiquities of Ceres. The main objectives of the 2023 season were the continuation in the Koutloudis sector of the excavations of the commercial complex P and the units of complex Q, as well as the excavation of a unit of the new U complex. Elsewhere, we pursued our excavations of the Angelopoulos Plateau. In the Koutloudis sector, the following rooms were partially or fully excavated. In the Koutloudis, in complex P, units P8, P9, and P10, as well as the space bordering P10 to the east, complex Q, Q3, Q6, and Q9, and complex U, unit U2. Unlike U2, unit U2, I sense something amongst the crowd here. Finds are most interesting in the Q complex, particularly in unit Q3. Unlike the shops, I'll get back here. Unlike the shops in the adjoining L complex, those in the P complex have so far delivered very little material. In 2023, 2 red figure craters were discovered. The one found in unit P10 depicts a seated Dionysos holding a Tirsus, observing a Maenad between 2 satyrs. The second crater from neighboring room P9 is decorated with a symposium scene. Finds are most interesting in the Q complex, particularly in unit Q3. In 2022, we had found a number of unusual objects, often associated with offerings in the east front room. Amongst these, a bronze phallus, a miniature Phoenician glass onokoe, and a miniature amphora. Other unusual discoveries were made this year in the large room. Firstly, in the southwest corner of the room, a rectangular platform contained the badly damaged remains of 2 or 3 protomes and a small terracotta plaque representing a Thracian horseman. Slightly to the south of this platform, the excavators uncovered the burial of a dog whose head had been cut off and replaced by a small rectangular stone. A short distance to the east of the platform, the lower part of a large boar's jaw was found. Animal sacrifices, and particularly dog sacrifices, are well documented in ancient literature and were particularly common among the Thracians. What remains to be clarified is the occupational phase of the unit to which these sacrifices correspond. Q8 and Q9 are clearly Q6 and Q9 are clearly dwellings. In the tripartite house Q6, the excavator completed the excavation of the front room Q61, which contained a few amphora and other utilitarian vases towards the western corner, and the small storeroom Q65 at the rear of the central west room, which may have housed a staircase leading to the upper floor. In room Q9, the excavators uncovered the latest occupational phase, 400-357 BC. The unit had an enclosed space to the rear in the northwest corner, as indicated by the presence of two porous blocks marking the limits of a threshold. Nothing remains of the wall that bounded the room to the east, probably built of clay brick. In the northeast corner was the lower part of a large pithos. Along the east wall, a little south of its center, a stone platform marks the base of the staircase leading to the upper floor. We also uncovered the alleyway that separates complex Q from complex S. At its eastern end, it joins up with another alleyway, R7, which runs northwest and seems to be more or less parallel to the city's main street. From this R7 alleyway, access is gained to the units of a new complex U, where we have begun to uncover Unit U2. Excavation focused on the front part of the unit, which features a small rectangular room to the left of the entrance, not yet excavated, and a tiled bathroom on the right. A small opening in the corner of the bathroom's south wall allowed water to drain into the street. Elements belonging to a luterion were found in front of the room. At the far end of the entrance to the back room, which we hope to excavate during our next field campaign, the wall separating the large front room from the rear room is beautifully constructed, using the ladder pattern style. Among the objects found were 4 protomes, a small stamnoid crater, a rare shape at Argylos, and a thermophora, an even rarer object in a habitation context. Thermophorae, which were used in Greek medicine, are hot water containers whose shape varies according to the part of the body to which they are applied. This discovery leads us to question the function of room U2, living quarters or dispensary. Further excavation will hopefully help us to answer this question. While clearing the southern end of the city's main street, the excavators made a surprising discovery: the location of the city gate. One hinge of the double-leafed gate remains, as well as a large carved block in the center of the street, which served as a door stopper and lock. The leaf on the western side was opened for pedestrians, while the other was probably used for carts. The foundation of an imposing tower or large bastion with access ramp lined the entrance to the east, while to the west the street runs alongside the fortification wall. Finally, work continued on the Angelopoulos Plateau, where the main objective remains the clearing of an access road linking the lower town to the Acropolis. This year, we excavated a portion of the city's main street. The next excavation season will provide an opportunity to continue excavating it even further to the east. Last but not least, Volume 4 of the Argylos excavations by Kevin Wallet, Les défenses de la Grèce du Nord, architecture, géographie, histoire et phénomènes régionaux, période archaïque, classique et hellénistique, was published in February 2024. The Central Achaia Phthiotis Survey, a synergesia of the Euphoria of Antiquities in Larissa and the University of Alberta, had its fourth penultimate fieldwork season from July 14th to August 20th, 2023. The project is co-directed by Sofia Karapanou and Margaret Hagsma, with staff members coming from a variety of Greek, Canadian, and Dutch universities. 16 students of the University of Alberta participated in the CAPS Field School. We would like to thank the Hellenic Ministry of Culture, the municipality of Farsala, and the Canadian Institute in Greece for their support. The goal of CAPS entails the survey of a landscape surrounding the 4th to 2nd century BCE city at Castro, near the village of Kalithea in Thessaly. This landscape is situated in an endangered and topographically challenging region, Achaia Phthiotis, on the margins of the Thessalian plains. Most importantly, the survey documents the landscape before the construction of solar panels on many of the former agricultural fields. Goals for 2023 were field walking a large portion of an area north and northeast of the Castro, with the toponyms Perreault, east of the Castro, and Campos, north of the Castro. Our team also surveyed the area known as Castrakis Arabisis, near the village of Agios Antonios, identifying areas to be excluded from the solar panel construction. The documentation of a number of architectural features and one early Iron Age Tholos tomb, Tholos 14, on the slopes of the Castro, identified during the previous seasons, and finally processing all finds and adding them to the good geo database. In 2023, the team surveyed 135 fields or 355 survey tracts, covering an area of about 177 hectares. Results demonstrated a chronological time span of human activity from the Middle Helladic pre-modern periods, with a marked emphasis on the Byzantine and Ottoman periods. 7,369 pieces of pottery were collected, weighing 179 kilos. Other artifacts gathered metal objects and lithics, the latter consisting of 3 pieces of chert and 18 grinding stone fragments. The number of artifacts found this year was substantially lower in number compared to earlier seasons. The reason here is that we have moved beyond the so-called sherd halo that characterizes the artifact carpet close to the castle. Artifacts, however, were found in very clear distributions and concentrations, and sometimes associated with extant architectural remains. The team discovered that there are 2 areas associated with the name Perreault, rather than only one. The first one, near the west bank of the river Inipias, consists of an area originally divided up in small fields, but now unified into one. Here, a large amount of Ottoman material was found, among which a glazeware. The survey also yielded a small substratum of earlier material, especially Hellenistic Roman. The rather vast area slopes upward to the north, ending in a small hill with a flat top adjacent to the river. The hill is covered in shrub, and systematic survey was not possible due to inaccessibility. Instead, we performed a GRAT sample survey within the open areas, and while doing so, discovered that the hill was surrounded on its southern side with a defensive wall that we tentatively date to the archaic, classical, or early Hellenistic date. Since the hill steeply slopes downward to the western side and is completely encircled by the river on its northern side, we conclude that this site represents a small, round, fortified citadel, roughly 75 by 75 meters in size, or 0.5 hectare. The grab sample yielded a variety of material, which included sherds of archaic and classical date. No other architectural remains could be seen at the surface of this site. The second location, known as Perreault, is directly located east of the castle at a distance of about 1 kilometer. It has been nicknamed Tsami. The area is readily recognizable as a former village. There are few architectural remains to be seen, but the extended terracing of the area betrays former local small-scale cultivation, and an older dexamini was found in the middle of the bulldozed road. The survey yielded material exclusively dated to the Ottoman period. A chance find on the east slope of the castle was a coin minted under Suleiman II. The final week of our season was dedicated to surveying the Magula named Castrati aravicis, which we had first visited during our pilot season in 2019. This site presents as a small walled citadel measuring 18 by 100 meters. The flat top of this site was densely covered with ceramic material and stone artifacts, including a fragment of an Ionic frieze with traces of colored paint. Most of the finds could be dated to the classical Hellenistic and Hellenistic Roman periods, but there is a substratum of late Helladic early Iron Age material, which we had also identified in the extramural fields north of the site in 2019. The site also yielded an unusual large number of loom weights. This site has been selected for geophysical survey in 2024. The architecture team cleared, described, and photographed 3 undocumented structures in the survey area. The first one is located at a distance of 327 meters east of the east gate of Castro Calitea. There is a building oriented facing southeast. The structure consists of ashlar masonry with well-cut rectangular stone blocks made of local bluish-gray limestone that we date to the Hellenistic period. No dressing of corners have been observed on any of the blocks. Up to 5 courses of stone blocks are preserved. Interpretation ranged from lower gate or guardhouse to cenotaph. The structure is reminiscent of a Hellenistic retaining wall belonging to the so-called Apollo sanctuary at nearby Eretria, yet no other architectural structures have been found at our immediate location. The finds consisted of roof tiles only, and they confirm its Hellenistic date. On the east slope of Castro, slightly towards the south, is located an Ottoman sesme, a public fountain, 240 meters southeast of the Hellenistic enceinte. Both ancient cis graves and Muslim tile graves are known from the vicinity. The fountain itself lies under the branches of a plane tree about 2 meters east of it. The fountain was still operational until the 1960s, 1970s. The fountain is oriented east and is angled very slightly southeast and 7 meters in length, is made of different stones, many of which seem to be ancient spolia. The fountain consists of a retaining wall backed against the slope of the west, to the west, a short north wall and a south wall, and 7 basins. Some roof tiles were observed in the vicinity of the fountain, as well as a few sherds of fine ware of classical Hellenistic date. Tholos 14 is one of the 24 early Iron Age Tholos tombs located on the slopes of Castro. It has been looted and is located on one of the ridges radiating south of the Castro, next to a road 900 meters southeast of the enceinte. Tholos 14 consists of a circular corbel vaulted stone structure that was covered by an earthen mound. The diameter of the tomb interior is less than 2 meters, and the height from the floor to the tomb, from the floor of the tomb to the vaulted ceiling of the tomb is around 1.4 meters. The height from the floor to the highest surviving stone at the top of the tomb is just under 2 meters. It has a stomnion facing west towards the location of the ancient road, consisting of a large lintel placed over 2 posts with a small trapezoidal space above the lintel. It is yet unclear if Tholos 14 contained a cyst grave like Tholos 7. The team plans to finalize clearing the tomb in the upcoming seasons. And our team, thank you all for listening to their report. Not one is left. Excavations at ancient Ilion. The Eastern Boeotia Archaeological Project, EBAP, conducted a 6-week season of excavation at ancient Ilion in modern Arma from May 22nd to June 30th, 2023. This work resumed the SIG's synergasia with the effort of Antiquities of Boeotia and is directed by Alexander Karami, effort of Antiquities of Boeotia, and co-directed by Dr. Brendan Burke, American School of Classical Studies and University of Victoria, Brian Burns, Wellesley College, and Dr. Trevor Van Dam from the University of Victoria. The funding in 2023 came from the Archaeological Institute of America's Richard C. MacDonald Iliad Endowment for Archaeological Research and the Social Sciences Humanities Research Council of Canada, funding for the urban landscape of ancient Ilion and human environmental interactions, 12th to 4th century BCE. Our project is partly run as an archaeological field school and included 12 undergraduates and 5 graduate students from Canada, plus students from the US and Greece. Following the first major phase of excavations at ancient Ilion from 2011 to 2018, we had productive seasons of study and survey in 2021 and 2022. A new 5-year phase of excavation, 2023-2027, has been approved with 3 major goals: to clarify chronological and architectural aspects of the Mycenaean settlement at Ilion, to complete the excavation of early Mycenaean tombs associated with the bluestone structure and to stabilize its walls, and 3, to understand the urban extent of ancient Ilion in the Archaic and Classical periods. The 2023 team worked in 10 trenches, mainly in uninvestigated areas where geophysical results pointed to features of interest. In all trenches, very little Archaic and Classical material was uncovered. Instead, we revealed several additional structures of the post-palatial settlement and a section of the Mycenaean perimeter wall. In the northwest, work focused on evidence for a fortification wall along the northern edge of the Ilion Acropolis. We confirmed the identification of an east-west geophysical anomaly as a fortification wall with a well-preserved interior face, with fill that provides a terminus antiquem of late Helladic 3B2 for its construction. Inside the fortification wall, a floor deposit of mandible late Helladic 3B2 or 3C early ceramics were found, including a pictorial ring-based crater decorated with scenes of bulls and birds that may have been somewhat older than the other vessels and therefore a valued heirloom. To the south of our spoil heap, excavations were conducted in 3 trenches. Significant late Helladic 3C architectural features were associated with what seems to be a destruction deposit, which was completely undisturbed by post-Mycenaean activity. In the most coherent architectural phase of this area, stone walls divide the space into 4 separate spaces. Within an interior space south of the wall running east-west, a well-defined collapse layer revealed several near-complete vessels, the latest dating to late Helladic 3C early, a large pithos and a complete pantile. North of the wall, after the removal of the collapsed tiles and cobbles, we found an in situ bathtub set into a compact surface of decomposed lime plaster. This arrangement parallels the placement of bathtubs in Ilion's northwest structure and appears typical of domestic courtyards at the site. In addition to excavation, we backfilled the interior of the bluestone structure to preserve the perimeter wall, to tombs within, and most importantly, to prevent the collapse of the two in situ grave stelae, which have stood fixed in position since the late Bronze Age. This work provided us with our student volunteers a new appreciation for the vast quantities of earth required to create the original structure. It also proved timely as a substantial rainfall occurred in the fall months that could have destabilized one of Illion's most outstanding archaeological treasures, the in situ early Mycenaean grave stelae. Several specialists initiated or completed projects centered around previously excavated materials. Dr. Adam Di Battista cataloged and rehoused 31 boxes of faunal material from our excavations, providing extremely helpful information to anyone who studies this material. Scott Evans from the University of Victoria completed his MA thesis study of the chipped stone assemblage from 2011 to 2018. Simon Ginoudis from Groningen completed his MA research of the archaeobotanical remains while working at the Wiener Laboratory in Athens, looking at the Mycenaean agrarian economies of Medea, Eclena, and Ilion. Dr. Trevor Van Dam from the University of Victoria directed the processing and study of pottery, and in collaboration with Haley Bertram and Dr. Janelle Sadaramanda, began identifying samples for extended NAA work that will include archaic and classical black figure, Boeotian calyx ware, and terracotta figurines to complement the recently published study of 12th century BCE material from the site. Dr. Jeremy Beller from the University of Victoria continued his study of the groundstone tools and quarries for architectural stones. Ben Watts Wooldridge, also from the University of Victoria, studied the pictorial Mycenaean pottery as part of his MA project, reconsidering the manufacture and trade of pictorial pottery after the collapse of the Mycenaean palaces. Annika Berendt, University of Victoria, studied black-figured Boeotian vases as part of the Shirk-funded MA project, cross-cultural interactions, and the work of migrant craft people in archaic Boeotia. Dr. Vanessa Mouros conducted exploratory work on the glass and faience artifacts and fresco fragments to select samples for PXRF and limited destructive analysis, which she hopes to do in 2024. The team is in the field currently, and thanks the Canadian Institute and our Greek collaborators for all their help. We look forward to reporting on our work in 2025, and here at the Canadian Institute, we thank all our excavators who were in the field last summer. Thank you very much.